Welcome back to the One Decision Away podcast. I'm your host, Elijah Mang. And in this one, we are going to talk about forgiveness because forgiveness is so important, such an important topic. And I think it's often overlooked by many people because we try to change our actions. We try to do better. We try to work harder. We try to do more for the people around us. Yet the whole time that we're doing all of this, we're holding on to this weight and we're carrying this weight with us into every single thing that we're doing. And so everything that we're doing it with this resistance, or we're doing it with this burden that we're carrying on our shoulder that is not forgiving ourselves, that is holding things against ourselves or others. In this one, I'm going to specifically talk about forgiving yourself because it's the most important aspect of forgiveness, is forgiving yourself. And when you can fully understand this, it's really easy to understand how you can forgive other people as well, and why, and what the importance is. So wherever you want to start on this topic, forgiving other people, forgiving yourself, I believe that this will help a lot. And one of the core things to understand here is that forgiveness, if you truly want to experience forgiveness, if you truly want to experience the relief of this weight that you're carrying around into your everyday activities, the pressure that you're carrying on yourself, the stress, if you really want to release it, you need to shift your view of yourself, of life, of God. And however you view God, however you judge or perceive God, or if you completely deny the existence of a God altogether, doesn't really matter. But just understand that I'm going to be talking about God in this specific episode, in probably all of my episodes, as everything that is, essentially, as the creator of the universe, of life, but also the creation. And the way I look at it is we are all temporary. We're all eternal spirits, spiritual beings, experiencing a temporary human existence right now. That's what we're doing here. But we are also God, and God is experiencing himself, all that is, or herself. God is not male or female. Experiencing itself, everything that is, through us as the vehicles for that experience. And here's one way that I want to, this idea I'm about to bring up comes from this book I listened to, Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And it's really, really good. I recommend that you listen to it, especially if you're not completely sure what you believe about this topic. I highly recommend that book. It will probably change your life. But God, the whole idea of life is that God is essentially everything. And we came here to experience this life of creation as a way for God to experience himself through us. Because before we came here into this world of duality and polarity, of good, bad, right, wrong, which are just perceptions. I actually don't believe in good or bad or right or wrong in the traditional sense that it may be perceived or discussed. High, low, fat, skinny, like whatever contradictions, every single thing that exists has duality in this life, in the world that we live in, has duality. There's up, down, right? It's all just two sides of the same coin. Popular topic, money, for example, it's two sides of the same coin. There's the lack of money, and then there's abundance of money. There's the having money, and there's having not. And so everything exists with that same principle of duality. And so we came here into this world of duality to experience ourselves and to remember ourselves. This is how it's described in Conversations with God, which really resonated with me. is that we are here to remember who we are through the experience of contrast. Because think about it, if God is all that is, if God is everything, then how could God know what God is? If God is everything, you can't know, because there's nothing contradicting that. There's nothing to give reference to all that is besides the opposite of all that is, which is all that is not. And so that's where the duality came about into this experience of life, where, boom, now we have good and evil perceptions, of course, but good and evil. And you can't know one without the other. Happiness, sadness, you can't know one without the other. And we experience certain things. Like every single one of us, we go through shit. We go through shit before we can really create and experience what we actually want to create. That's just how it seems to go. Because in going through the shit and experiencing the sadness, in doing things that one may call evil, you know, like I mean, I've done some fucked up things in my life. I'm pretty sure we all have, right? And it doesn't define us, though. But when we experience those things, when we do things that are bad, let's just say that we wouldn't want to do again, that don't feel good, when we do things that hurt other people, we realize that is not who I want to be. Or, for example, you grow up, and I'm pretty sure everybody has experienced this one. You grow up and your parents act and operate in a certain way, and you realize this, you know, causes me pain in some ways. And that's not who I want to be when I grow up. That's not who I want to be as a parent. So you experience the opposite. You experience the contrast to really be able to clarify and define what you actually want to experience. You have to experience what you don't want in order to know what you do want. And so that's the paradox of life, of this whole world of duality. And the idea that I want to talk about as far as forgiveness goes is that if you are judging everything you've ever done and defining yourself by those actions, you're going to have a really hard time forgiving yourself. But when you understand that you are a limitless creator living in this infinite universe that you are inseparable from, you are literally connected to everything else that exists in the universe. There is not one single thing in this universe that is not connected to everything else. And when you understand that perspective, when you understand that you're here as a creator, you're not here to live up to some high ideal of what's right or wrong and then having a condemning God judge you based on how you lived and say, okay, you're going to go to hell for eternity or you're going to go to heaven for eternity. That's such a limited egoic point of view. It's coming from ego because God doesn't live in ego. We do. It's the polarity, the lower human nature versus our higher spiritual nature. It is the condition that we happen to be living in. And so when you're viewing God from that lower nature, through the filter of your lower human nature, it's filtered. You're not even actually looking at God. You're just looking at your perception of it. And it's the same with everything else. Whatever we look at, we're looking at our perception. We're looking at our thoughts about it. We're not necessarily looking at it directly. And so, in a sense, reality is a very subjective experience. Life is subjective, and your perspective is your reality. And so if your perspective of yourself is that you are inherently bad, inherently evil, inherently a sinner, and you need to try and prove your higher nature in order to make it to some heaven, which is, all of this is based out of fear, And so it's not based out of love. It's not God. I mean, it is God because God is everything, but it's not your true nature, and it's not God's true nature to act out of fear, because we all have two core motivations: fear or love. Fear or love. Again, it's the duality: human lower nature, or like survival, or the spiritual higher nature, which is to love. And understanding that you are actually an eternal being, that you are actually an eternal being, and you don't actually die. You simply change form. Because the energy that you are, cannot be created or destroyed. It simply changes form. And so death is a changing of form. You're going through a metamorphosis. You're just changing. You're not dying. You don't die. And so when you introduce this more loving, accepting, graceful, compassionate, non-judgmental point of view of God and of life into your conception of reality, into your perception, your mind, then you realize that you don't need to hold on to those things. That you are an infinite being, a creator of a limitless possibility. And so, what would be the point in judging certain things that you've experienced and saying, this deems me unworthy of love? This deems me unworthy of forgiveness, of acceptance. What would be the point of that when all it does is limit your possibility to create further great things? If you judge yourself by negative actions of the past, you're only limiting your ability to do great things. And so it's completely pointless. And it's unnecessary. And by loving yourself, by forgiving yourself and accepting yourself, even though you've done things that aren't great and you've fallen short, you are seeing yourself through the lens that God sees you, which is through love. Always. Unconditional love. Compassion. Compassion for the human condition itself. Because you're not unique. Every single one of us experiences this. What would be the point of us all being here if we were unworthy of love? If we were unworthy of being here? Just the simple fact that you are here is proof enough, at least to me, it's proof enough that you're worthy. If you weren't worthy of being here, then you wouldn't be here. It's that simple. And so when you shift this perspective, and it's simple, but it can also be very difficult because we're in a constant battle with our higher and lower nature. It's the human condition. And so you have to be able to have understanding for the human condition. And here's a few of the main points here. Is you have to understand that you are completely innocent. You're doing the best that you can at the level of consciousness that you have, with the idea of reality that you have. You're doing the best you can, always. Your parents did the best they can. You're doing the best you can. We're all doing the best we can with our understanding of reality, with our level of consciousness at the moment. Okay, and secondly, when you realize that you actually are innocent, it's understanding the reality of the human condition that you're experiencing, understanding the reality of this life, of what's going on here. And it doesn't take a lot to realize that all the things I'm saying are also proven through science, quantum physics. Just the fundamental understandings of the universe have expanded greatly through science and been confirmed. I mean, really, it's not as much of an expansion as it is just a confirmation of what ancient mystics and saints have been saying for thousands of years. It's just that the ego needs proof for things, in order to believe things oftentimes. So it's funny. But understanding the human condition, understanding that you're going to make things that you may perceive as mistakes. You're going to make those. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that are not what you want to be doing or who you want to be. And that's literally the point of experiencing this duality, the dual nature of life. And so understanding, and then also acceptance. When you can understand and then accept what is as it is, accept that you're a creator, a very powerful creator, and that you are so free, that you're so free to do literally anything that you want, create anything that you want, then you've really jumped. You've really jumped to a new level because you're at peace with what is, the way that it is. And if you can accept that though people do fucked up things, if you can see the innocence underneath that, have a certain level of understanding and acceptance for what is, then you can also have compassion and see what is, see what has happened, see what you've done, see what others have done, and learn something from it, gain a new level of understanding of, okay, well, I guess we don't want that, so let's shift the focus. Instead of loathing on what we did that we don't want, let's shift the focus to what we do want, because that's the point of experiencing what we don't want. Then you can have compassion for everybody else as well as yourself, because you understand the human condition and you understand that a single action doesn't define you. Nothing in this temporary experience of life can define you. You're beyond, like who you are at the core is beyond all of that. And so oftentimes to truly, truly, truly forgive yourself, you have to connect with this part of yourself, with your soul, with the part of yourself that's beyond your mind and your body, how you may have previously identified, with the infinite part of yourself. And that will allow you to have compassion for yourself, acceptance of yourself at your core, and also acceptance of your mistakes, acceptance of what is, without loathing on it, without resisting it, and without creating all the more resistance by doing so. And I strongly recommend some practices that may help with this is writing a letter to yourself or meditation, because ultimately it comes down to connecting with the real you, your soul, your spirit, and sitting in silence, meditating, coming back to your inherent worthiness. Because like I said in the beginning, it comes down to worthiness. You feel unworthy of forgiveness, and that's why you're punishing yourself by withholding love. And so give yourself that love. Recognize and remember your worthiness, because it's always been here. You've always been good enough. You've just been under the illusion at times that you're not good enough. And that's one of the biggest challenges I've experienced in my life. And so I hope this really helps you, as this whole understanding and concept has helped me and changed my life. And I hope that I was able to communicate this in a way that was clear and understandable. But yeah, I recommend you meditate. You sit in silence and write. Writing as well. Journaling. Going deeper on these understandings or potentially new perspectives. And really becoming curious. Maybe it is true. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's not true. Which I don't care. I at this point I don't care, because even if it is wrong, it serves me better than anything else that I've held on to or believed. And so we need to start looking at our beliefs like that as well. Is what serves you, what doesn't serve you. Not trying to look for what's true or false, what's right or wrong, because you will not find it. It requires justification, because it's something that's built of the ego. Searching for that it comes from ego. And so it doesn't stand on a stable ground. It needs a lot of reinforcement. So what serves you? Focus on that. And please drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts, questions, suggestions, anything you want me to talk about. Please drop a comment. I appreciate you watching this. Leave a like, subscribe, rating and review. That'd be amazing, and it helps the show grow and reach more people. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And remember, you're only one decision away from forgiving yourself. You're one decision away from seeing who you truly are and experiencing the fulfillment and peace that comes from that, the genuine satisfaction. You don't have to go carrying those burdens around with you everywhere. The burdens of your own thinking, of your own judgments, of your own grudges that you're holding, the criticism that you're holding against yourself. So yeah, with that said, you're one decision away. Seriously. One decision away. So decide what you want, decide what serves you, and go for that. Let go of the rest, because you don't have to hold on to it. Thank you. Peace.